Mike's Daily Podcast.
Welcome to FF episode 2012.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
2012, the worst movie ever made with John Cusack. It's so sad. John Cusack did all these bad movies. He was sometimes the guy you'd always say was groovy in movies that had like Peter Gabriel songs in it. And then, of course, his sister, she was so funny. Joan Cusack.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Joan Cusack, I mean. Cusack. And there you go. That's all my Joan Cusack information for today.
Mike's
Did you enjoy it?
Daily
Excellent.
Podcast.
Welcome to the show. Well,
Yeah!
I have to tell you, this is not exactly the most particularly best time for me to do this show. I got pushed back with a million things I had to do. And my CPA, even though taxes have been moved now to like June, she still wants me to get all the stuff to her. I'm like, what's the rush? Let's take advantage of the situation. My gosh. How many years have I been rush, get everything in? But no, the CPAs still want to make sure they're out of the office by April 15th. That's ridiculous. So, I'm like having to deal with that. Don't you love this whole thing? Just because it's an emergency for you doesn't mean it's an emergency for me. Some people come rushing to you. Mike, I need this. Mike. Well, did you do this? No. Did you do that? No. So this basically is an emergency that you caused yourself. Mike, help me out. I need a favor. Oh my God, how many times have I heard that? Mike, I need a favor. Back to Peter Gabriel, however. I was watching this classic albums show. For some reason, I got all this free stuff. It's called, I think, Filmwise or Filmrise.
And here's today's podcast picture.
There's some channel that's offered for free that the Xfinity Comcast Flex is allowing me to watch. Now, I gave them a plug. I'm going to give them a slug. Xfinity Comcast, I know at some point it's going to start charging me for this Flex device that they gave me for free. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I know it's going to happen, and I don't like it. Hey, Adam Sandler, Howie Mandel have raised over $300,000 for unemployed comics amid the virus. That's right, Basil. Did they raise any money for you? You're the funniest comedian of all time. Why would they should raise some money for you? That's what I'm saying. Alabama has joined the states under coronavirus stay-at-home order. So this is something interesting because Alabama pretty much looks at California and goes, ha, that's not going to happen here. Yeah, it happened there. I talked to my mom today. She says it is ridiculous that they do not let you go to the beach. Everybody is standing far apart from each other. Now they're letting you apparently go into the water, and you can go to the beach, but you can't hang out on the beach. You can't put a towel down and sit down. I'm not exactly sure what the medical professionals in Florida are thinking. Like, am I going to catch something because I'm downwind from someone? I got to keep moving? Is that the deal? I can't be sitting on a towel? I'm not sure. It just seems in all of this, we should also be getting some fresh air. Apparently, there's a guy in England who started some sort of dance video where he jumps around and does all the... He's one of these guys... He's very limber. He's got this really short hair, almost balding, glasses, young guy. And you see him talking to the camera with his face. Hey guys, this is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be showing you some different dance moves, and you could, follow what I do. And then, we'll do it together every day. We'll come up with a new routine. And then they pan back, and he's like in this leotard that's goofy as can be, and he's jumping on the ground. At every dance move he does, he says what it is. So it's like a reverse worm. There's a reverse worm. There's the Bigfoot. Starfish. Is that one of them? I don't know. I'm not a dancer. I know you're shocked to hear that. Boris Johnson, meanwhile, in England, is hospitalized as Trump again touts hydroxychloroquine. Wow, Boris Johnson hospitalized. And then Louisiana church officials have defied the rules, and they are defying the coronavirus stay-at-home order, and they have held services again. And the Louisiana pastor has been charged with violating the ban on large gatherings, holding church for hundreds. Meanwhile, Patricia Bosworth has passed away at the age of 86 because of the coronavirus. Dang. And India has banned the export of the Trump's virus drug, the hydroxychloroquine. A total ban on exports of it, the malaria drug. In Australia, I know it's all the news that's fit to print, but Australia police launch a criminal probe of the Ruby Princess cruise ship docking. Into the docking and disembarking of passengers from the ship that had the coronavirus outbreak on it. So that's all that's out there today. And the podcast picture is of happier days, but it's a foreboding picture. I'm going to post it. Maybe today's podcast name will be foreboding and it will fit it. But this picture was taken, 11 years ago? Seriously? Wow. 11 years ago, I was in Savannah, Georgia. 11 years ago. And that was as the economic downturn happened, the last one. And you know what? That's wrong. That was 2009, still that's 11 years, right? Yeah. So about 11 years ago, this picture was taken. You can see it at mikesdailypodcast.com. But it was a fun trip to Savannah. I love Savannah so much. It was such a great trip. You ever go somewhere and you just lose all thoughts about where you left, and you just as I go outside a cafe anywhere, I bring you Mike's Daily Podcast, somewhere in Podcaster Valley. Ton today, the last place on earth. When I first went to San Francisco, I have to say I felt teleported to. I'm like, what is this place? This is magical. Do I feel that now when I go there? No. Now it's just, I see it for what it is. And I see the dirtiness and the people that are homeless, that, there's this whole thing, this whole world that I don't understand that's there. There's still some magical parts. I love the Palace of Fine Arts. I would love to go back there when this is all over again. And the Golden Gate Bridge is nice. But anywho, Savannah, check it out at mikesdailypodcast.com, the podcast picture. Meanwhile, I said meanwhile a bit too many times, I would say. Meanwhile, by the way, is a great name of an album. Is that the name of the album? Or there's a song by a group called Third Matinee, which features the guy who was the lead singer of Mr. Richard Page. And it's got the instrumentalist behind a lot of Madonna's stuff, Papa Don't Preach, the True Blue album, Like a Prayer. He's this guy named Patrick Leonard. He's the one that I think my dad might have, I don't know if my dad talked to him, but he was dating a woman that lived next door to my dad. I'll tell you now that Olivia d'Abo dated Patrick Leonard. Olivia d'Abo was in The Wonder Years. She also fancied herself a musician, but she somehow met Patrick Leonard, and the two were dating at the same time my dad was living next door to her. So who knows? Who knows if they had ever met, and whatever. I am a huge Patrick Leonard fan. He produced a Brian Ferry album I really liked. called Bet Noir, I think it was. Anywho. But other producers that are amazing include David Lanois, and he was behind U2, Talking Heads, and he also produced the album So for Peter Gabriel. And I watched the thing about that album So. So is a very mellow album, but it does have In Your Eyes on it, Sledgehammer. And Sledgehammer, by the way, was done like at the very last second. In fact, Peter Gabriel was saying, hey, this is an idea I have for the next album. And they started working on it, and they said, why don't we just do it for this album? So they got this great drummer to come in. I forget his name. Manu, something like that. Can't think of it. Not Manu Chao, something like that, though. And he comes in, does the drum track for Sledgehammer, and they were like, this is it. This is great. And then he also did the drum track for In Your Eyes, which was something like, there was the description of how In Your Eyes was created, all the different levels of, well, there was something like 83 different takes of that song that were kind of punched in and out throughout the song. So you're listening to this 4-minute song. There's so much going on in the background, and you're listening to maybe something that was recorded. It wasn't all recorded in one shot. It was like little takes here and there from different days, different recording sessions, all mashed together to make the song that you've heard on the radio a bazillion times. And talking about all the people that worked on that album, the drummer for the Police, Stuart Copeland, works on it. There was his Tony Levin, the amazing bass player who was touring with him. I saw him in 2002, I think, at the Irvine Meadows Amphitheater. Well, that still existed, and Peter Gabriel was up there. It's funny because I watched a Peter Gabriel concert last night, the one that Paula Cole was on, and that was like 1990, 91, 92, and he was still he moved around the stage a lot and danced with his band. At one point, the whole band goes into a suitcase, and he closes the suitcase and walks off with the suitcase. It's pretty funny. But when I saw him in 2002, he was pretty much sedentary. He actually got on a Segway and moved around the Segway in it. Oh, he did climb into one of those big inflatable balls where you get inside and you can like bounce around all over the place. And somebody, I think, recently went into a supermarket in one of those to avoid getting the coronavirus. And I guess to just annoy every single person in the store. So he got into one of those and bounced around the audience during that show. So yes, Peter Gabriel, amazing. He first and foremost was all about performing. That was his thing. He wanted to put on a show, put something different on for the audience. And then his vocals and his singing are incredible. His songs are interesting. When he's not boring the crap out of you, he could get kind of mellow. Yeah, see? It's a plug and a slug. Look who's out here at Cafe Anyway, located somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth. Hi, Matt. It's Benita the Rodeo Queen. How y'all doing?
It's a disgruntled fiddle player, tell you what.
What?
Mark, I'm getting sick of this coronavirus and having to stand so far away from people and getting in that big inflatable ball and being thrown around like a big beach ball. I hate it, tell you what.
What?
I got one of those and I'm not going to let you borrow it.
Oh, man, I wanted to get into one of those big inflatable balls. Look who else is here.
Oh, Mark, I make the delicious root beer. Have some right now. I'll cut you over.
Yeah, we got to wrap up the show because I don't have much time. I got to get out of here soon. Okay. We had a lot of rain. Thank you for the non-coronavirus root beer.
You got it, oh boy. It's got no coronavirus in it or COVID-19. Yeah, I tell you what, oh boy.
Okay. He said tell you what, too. It's a tell you what world today is what it is. So, that's the name of the Peter Gabriel album. So, he did a trilogy. He did So, he did Us, and then he did Up. He wanted to do album titles that just had 2 letters. And before that, he had no album titles. It was just him and his face or whatever, or some piece of art. Okay. Anything else here today? Mike's Daily Podcast. Getting up really late today was really, really nice. Getting lots and lots of sleep this weekend. One thing I watched recently because I had so much time and I'm staying away from people is I watched a thing about Sid and Marty Krofft and how they had an amusement park in Atlanta, Georgia. If you go to Atlanta, Georgia and visit where the CNN building is, by the way, isn't that fascinating? CNN, everyone says, is a left-leaning news organization. Yet there it is in the very conservative South, right there in Atlanta, Georgia. It is odd. We all know it's because of Ted Turner and all that, and he's left-leaning, and Jane Fonda and all that. But that spot where the CNN building is, and when you go in and that big escalator, that used to be an escalator. I think it's still the largest escalator in the world. And now it takes you up through a huge globe. But, which by the way, remember when everybody had globes? Now we just go online and we can go like to Google Earth or something and see a virtual globe. But back at one time, everybody, well, just about everybody as a child would get a globe, or you had one in your class. And it was kind of funny to take it off the axis and throw it around, play with it like it was a big ball. You'd say, I got the whole world in my hands. And just to think about the intricate work it took to make a globe, all the printing and the ink involved, and you had to make the writing legible enough so you could read it, yet it had to be small enough because it had to fit on this very small thing representing the entire Earth. I think globes are just fascinating. Just the old school analog, printed by who knows who. That would be fascinating to get the guy from Nickelodeon who goes and sees how things are made. Now he's on the Food Network or Travel Channel or something, and go and see how those globes used to be made. They probably don't make them anymore, or they don't make them as much because we got the internet and we can see it all there in front of us. But it's fascinating. In this world, those people that don't make the globes anymore, they're all out of work. But we appreciate you anyway. Jobs that are not going away anytime soon: DoorDash, Postmates, Uber Eats, that other one, and the other one, and the other one. Delivery jobs. Sometime very soon, the digital voting companies, those people, for digital voting, the people behind that, because we're going to have to all digital vote and count mail, the people that count mail-in votes. The video live chat companies, therapists dealing with depression. Okay, people are still talking to their therapist, to their psychologist through this live video chat that they use. I think it's through whatever the medical, there's some kind of psychology only, for patients, sort of a medical oriented video chat service that doesn't have to do with Zoom. You don't have to go through that. You go through the hospital somehow, and then you're able to see your therapist online, because a lot of people are dealing with anxiety these days and depression. And yet, interestingly enough, as I have talked to someone who is a therapist who talks to people, that a lot of the people who had the pre-existing condition of anxiety, they're actually less anxious now in these very anxious times, because they notice how many people around them, the normal people that they used to see day in and day out, oh, they're normal, they're boring, I'm the one that's anxious, I got problems, how come I can't be like them? Now those people that they used to compare themselves to, they're the anxious ones. And so the people that are actually anxious, that were anxious before, go, man, I'm actually calm compared to them. It's the boat that rises, and now everybody's on the same, they're all in boats, the tide's gone up. No one's above or higher or lower than anyone. Now we're all being taken up by the tide, I think is what I'm trying to say. Oh yeah, and the pop business is doing really well. Hey, to sum up, watch the thing about, I think there's a couple videos about it, about Sid and Marty Krofft, that the people that did HR Puffin Stuff, Lidsville, and there's definitely some marijuana pot undertones there. HR Puff and stuff puffing. And then, of course, Lidsville. Lid isn't it a measurement of some marijuana type thing? It's a unit of measurement. Anyway, Sid and Marty Krofft, they did that. They did a bunch of kids shows, and then they had their own amusement park that lasted for like 5 months in Atlanta, Georgia, where the CNN building is now, where the CNN offices are now, used to be this amusement park. It was an indoor amusement park. It was trying to compete with like Disneyland and the like, and it was going to be better than Disneyland because it could work during the hot summers because there would be air conditioning, and it'd be able to work during the winters when it was cold because it'd be warm, and rain would have no effect on it because it was inside in this big, huge mall with a massive atrium. They had a pinball machine ride. They had all kinds of shows. They had, I think, stuff related to their children's programming that was popular on TV. They did Electra Woman and Dinah Girl, Dr. Shrinker, Sigmund the Sea Monster. Oh, the big one, the Land of the Lost. They did that. So all of that was involved in this amusement park. It lasted 5 months. It closed up. I find it fascinating. Defunct Land, all those wonderful YouTube documentaries done by these independent people. They just get paid on Patreon and, GoFundMe and all that stuff. And they do these amazing little documentaries where they look into these things. Next show, it'll be the wonderful Madame Rootabega, Valentino, and Bison Bentley. Thank you for listening. I'll try to do another one soon. And you can call me at 336MM Daily. That's 3 + 3 = 6. MM is in Mike Matthews Daily, as in what this podcast tries to be. Let me know if you have any interesting memories or interesting defunct amusement parks that you've been to. And if you are, what you're thinking of the things, any of your thoughts, we would love to hear from you. Take it away, Ariel.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye.